He did move that a ways away from me. Lots of people that won't know the inside jokes here. I'm too fat, and I keep turning the microphones off with my belly. So our very good electrician moved it back a ways so that should, if it happens, I've got real problems anymore. Anyway, let's bring the meeting to order. Welcome everybody to the City Council chambers here in Marshalltown at 10 West State Street. Today's date's January 27, 2025. The time is 5:30 p.m. I call the meeting to order, and with those available and able, join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Fonseca. Here. Kell.
Here.
Lottie-Hoff.
Here.
Mitchell.
Here.
Nichols.
Here.
Schneider.
Here.
Thompson.
Here. Very good. Full house. Next item is the public comment. Members of the public may make comments on any item that was not on the agenda at this time. You approach the mic, state your name and address for the record, and limit your comments to 3 minutes unless I authorize longer. Direct your comments to the mayor and council as a whole, not specifically to any one of us. And the mayor and council are not allowed to engage in discussion or debate on these items because we might fall afoul of the open meetings laws. So if you expect a response after talking, we're unable to do that. Microphone's open.
Good evening. My name is Lynn Carroll, and I'm a member of Last Watch, which stands for Labor and Sex Trafficking Watch. We are an educating organization that likes to help inform and educate on what to look for and in the areas of labor and sex trafficking. And Chief Tupper has been a very significant part of this group over the years. So Chief Tupper, could you come here, please? We are very delighted that we have a police force that is trained and has trainers who train on sex trafficking and helping people to be more aware of what those things are. So we have excellent trainers in our police department, and he has been a very significant part of making that happen. So, in recognition for your leadership in the fight against human trafficking and your tireless efforts in making the community a safer place, we say thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
This can slide in.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I gotta get a picture.
Oh, okay. Robert.
I'll get by here. They can see me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's a critical thing that you do, and it has hit as close as home to a small town right around us. And so everybody has to be on the watch. So I appreciate what you do, and it was, the microphone's still open, sorry.
This is my response to the library
And
article.
I'm sorry, you need to identify
sorry.
yourself and your address first, sir.
John Warden, I live in Green Mountain. This is my response to the library article published today in the Times-Republican. This response is posted on the Marshalltown City Council Watch Facebook page as well. According to Jeff Hutton, Friends of the Library, he said, quote, "They, staff and board of trustees, have faced a lot of unnecessary criticism during the past 2 years. That statement is correct. However, had MPL in February of 2023 accepted offers of the 2 pertinent, timely, and popular periodicals free of charge from 2 generous patrons, the criticism would have been unnecessary." Paraphrasing Hutton, I don't think they, vocal minority, quite understand the value of this library. Minorities have rights in this republic. If a vocal minority tries diligently to add pertinent, timely, and popular material to a public library, and a censoring majority works diligently to deny the material, which of the two organizations recognizes the value of this library more? Why did it take until April of 2024 for Board President Gaffney to state that she hoped that middle ground could be found? Late as it was, she was actually exemplifying ethical and principled board behavior. That hope appears to have been scuttled. Unknown to the public, because the statement of concern in which it was included was rejected and did not make the agenda, a petition list with 200 signatures requesting the material was submitted to MPL. Where is a list of 200 signatures requesting each title in the library now? According to MPL board meeting policy, board members are allowed to engage patrons. The next time you see public servants Gaffney, Bennett, Lyons, Lindholm, Morrison, Beek, or Hill, ask them why they haven't engaged with the public they serve for 27 months. The public servants, including Director Rosenblum, don't want to know that they ignored state library trustee handbook policy, as well as others, regarding the vote in 2022 not to purchase the requested material. Thank you.
The microphone's still open.
Hi, I'm David Engel, 11 Denmead Boulevard, Marshalltown. First of all, I'd like to thank each and every one of the council members and their mayor for serving, because it's not an easy job, and I don't think I'd want to be doing any of those jobs. So thank you for doing your service to our community. One thing I would like to say is that I believe the money that you guys were going to be giving to the Marshalltown Arts and Civic Center could be better spent on fixing a few potholes or something like that. And if the Marshalltown Arts and Communities and Civic Center would like to raise the money, I think it would be pretty simple to raise $125,000 with 125 people in this community who would be willing to give $1,000, or 1,250 people would be willing to give $100. So if they could do that, I think that would be much better use of their time and money. And I would thank you for not giving them money and asking them to raise it on their own. I'd be happy to donate some money of my own. I think the arts are incredibly important. I was taught public speaking, theater, and film for the community college for many years, and taught and directed a number of plays at the community theater and acted in some. So I do understand how important it is. I love the artwork that they have down there, and I think they're doing a great job with all that, but I think they can do a better job of fundraising and not asking for taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Mic is still open.
Hello, Jim Shaw, 522 North 2nd Street. Several weeks ago, I had a letter to the editor about 3 cartels or gangs that Senator Grassley said we have in Marshalltown. I'm concerned about their influence and the consequences to the citizens of Marshalltown. I don't know if I was happy or disappointed to find out that our city officials, including the police, were aware of the gangs. I believe that we deserve to be alerted about the dangers they bring. I don't know what activities they're involved in, whether it's drugs, human trafficking, prostitution. I don't know, but I believe we should know that they exist. We don't need the details of a plan, but it would be nice to know that we do have a plan. I've received many positive comments about the letter, but I've also been criticized about the letter that I'm being negative about the city. That by me sending the letter, it will negatively affect students wanting to live here if we publicize and emphasize it. The mayor states that the chamber members, realtors, large employers, police, and everyone he trusts think otherwise about the letter, that this will not help our city grow. This is very upsetting. Instead of trying to solve a problem, I'm blamed for trying to bring it to everyone's attention. That I'm trying to hurt the city's reputation, morale, and property values? No. I don't want to hurt the town or its reputation. I want the opposite. I want to see the headline, after finding out there were 3 gangs, according to Senator Grassley, in Marshalltown, the city has aggressively addressed the problem and reports there are no longer any organized gangs in the city.
Mic is still open.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Lonnie Hoagland, 1408 East Main Street. I'm not a public speaker. I'm an optimistic guy trying to make our town better. I'm trying to direct my comments to, I notice we even have a sheriff in town here. We've got everybody. We got all kinds of police influence. We're trying our best to make the town good. I don't want any negative comments like we're not trying to get rid of gangs and such. We're doing as good as we can. I've got 6 things I want to talk about here. I'm going to make it as quick as I could. I reached out to an unnamed city administrator and an unnamed city clerk that I can't talk about, but a city clerk named Alicia Hunter did a very good job getting back a hold of me. So I'm going to go ahead and say it. And a nice lady named Carol that I don't know very well, but I had the chance to meet. You two are doing your best job. If you get me in trouble, throw me out of here for addressing them directly, so be it. They're doing their
cuffed, you know. You can be cuffed with all these police here. Just
they're
joking,
doing-
Lonnie.
They're doing a good job. They're literally doing their best they can do. An unnamed mayor does his best to run this meeting as good as he can, but it took every bit I could do to sit in that chair last week and sit on my hands when an unnamed counselor said he was under the influence of cold medicine about 3 times as a nice joke. I wanted to reach up and say, Police Chief Tupper, point of order, because Mr. Stanley Dorr in 10th grade told me Robert's Rule of Order. If something's out of order, we need to say, let's get the minutes and say, hey, we need him arrested because he just said he was under the influence of drug or alcohol and he's making voting decisions. That's a joke, but it was a joke, and we're trying to have fun. We're people trying to make the community better, but we got to be serious. If you got a problem, the first step is admit it. I'm not a public speaker, but I make a good one on TV. Businesses need to take care of their garbage cans. We got codes for it. If they're overflowing, do something or get rid of the ordinance. If it's overflowing, give them a ticket. What about the city? Go between Advance Auto Parts and Aspen Dental. I think that's property owned by the city. It's a boulevard of cement curb. The weeds are 2 foot tall. I don't know if it's whose it is. It's the city's, I believe. Those weeds need taken care of. Residential entrance to the back of the mall. I don't know if it's the malls or the city, but there's a terrible pothole there. I'm going to put a sign, wheels sponsored by Hoagland Auto Plaza. If you hit a curb, bend a wheel, call me. I'll tow you, then I'll sell you a wheel. Dilapidated buildings between Safelite Auto Glass and Stone's Restaurant. Big, ugly, square building. It's terrible. I'm on 4 already of 6. He's got his minutes going. I'm hurrying. That
I
building.
just started the clock over 3 minutes, but keep going. I'll let you know.
That building's terrible. It's going to cave in one of these days. That leads me to 5. Time speaking, 3 minutes. I'll show you this. Time 5 is 3 minutes speaking. It's terrible to have to shut somebody off or to say, if we like your ideas, we'll keep you going. But I don't know the open rules laws. I take blood pressure pills. I do. But I go to the doctor. My blood pressure's perfect. Number 6. It's a can of worms I don't even want to talk about tonight, but I'm going to. Police towing rotation. There's 4 tow companies in Marshalltown, Iowa. I took care of a tow Saturday morning at 8:29 a.m. I started at 8:30. I showed up. There was a 2-vehicle accident. I showed up to take care of one. Both customers wanted me. Any Hispanic dude with a little bit of language barrier. He was just frustrated that he didn't get me. It was just an accident. I should have reached out to Chief Tupper to talk about the rotation on it, but long and short of it was he was so frustrated it's crazy. I hate to have undue burrance. It was Mustaine Towing that came clear from State Center, and it took them forever to get there. But mainly cleaning up our town. I say you should put a moratorium on. I tow cars for the city that people. You send them notices that say, clean up your yard or we're going to tow your car. Then I work with Joe Trowbridge, an unnamed city head, and Matt, can't think of his last name. They're diligent. They're doing their job. I wouldn't want their job. I think you say, we're not doing nothing through the wintertime. It's cold. It's 15 below zero last Tuesday. You got a guy named Carter Strand. Carter Strand is the paint commissioner in Marshalltown. It's kind of a joke deal that it was a political thing. He's a paint commissioner. When it's time to vote, I say, somebody has got to be mean. I'm the junk car commissioner. But I say, call Action Auto Parts, call Critchfield, call someone, get rid of that old junky car out of your yard, but don't yell at these guys that they're not doing a good job. Get off your rear and run for election. Because
Okay, that was 2 minutes, 27 seconds over. It's improper to clap in this city council meeting. Some people get in trouble for doing that. But I want to tell you, I did allow you to go over, Lonnie, because you bought a park from us and you improved it. And from the day I became mayor, you've been, I'm not supposed to be responding, am I? Okay, so we're going to get sued for open violation, open meetings violation. Anyway, thank you, and
we're all just doing our best.
we are. Thank you. If anybody wants to follow that, the microphone's still open. Okay. Thanks for the input, everybody. Council administrator and mayor comments. Council first. Anybody wish to start?
Honor, if I may.
You may.
I just want to remind people that we are going to have an auction at the Mack Center for the Ukrainian paintings that were done by children ages 7 to 17. If you'd like to view them, Wednesday the 29th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Thursday, January 30th from 10 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., and Friday, starting at 7:30, we will be live auctioning the paintings. The money will go back to Ukraine, all of it. I'd like to thank the whole Sister City Committee that has been doing this, putting the whole thing together, and everyone that's helped, the Arts and Culture Center, the Mack Center, Carrie Barr. I'm going to miss a whole bunch of names, so I'm going to be in trouble. But come take a look at them. They're, and you might want to just buy one or two. They really are amazing. The display is called War Through the Eyes of a Child, and they can get you. They're pretty darn good paintings. So I hope to see you there Friday night, this Friday. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else? Madam Administrator? No? Let me hop on that. I got a preview of those the other day at the MAC. I teared up reading about those kids and what they painted. It is phenomenal. It really is. It's something else. So please do heed that if you would. I don't have anything else to say, so let's go on to point out the people that have years of service with us. Jackie Pippin in housing with 5 years, and Becky Deemer in housing for 20 years. Are they here for the? No, okay. And at this time, then, let's segue to item 2 under these Council Administrator and Mayor comments, and it's for a Distinguished Service Award for our Police Chief, Mike Tupper. I have the option of running down there and sharing a microphone with him, but he's so damn much taller than I am that I'm going to suggest, Mike, would you come up and be at the microphone, but don't talk until it's your turn. You do get a rebuttal.
I'm ready.
All right. It's my pleasure to present a plaque for Distinguished Service Award, presented to Mike Tupper in recognition of dedicated service as the City of Marshtown Chief of Police from October 31, 2011 to January 31, 2025. You have been a leader with the courage to make tough decisions and the compassion to listen to the voice of others. We celebrate your contributions and your achievements throughout your tenure, and we thank you for serving our community with passion and compassion. Signed by Mayor Greer and the Marshalltown City Council. Thank you for your service. I'm going to start the clock. I'm kidding.
You know, I can't stick to 3 minutes. So thank you for this. It was surprised and it's greatly appreciated. I would like to comment on a couple things that have been said here tonight. Okay, first of all, call me tomorrow, Lonnie. I'll look into your towing situation. The Marshalltown Police Department respects and honors owners' requests for tow companies. So if somebody says, I want Lonnie, they get Lonnie. So if a mistake was made, we'll look into it. But I trust my police officers to do the right thing. So that's that. Thank you. Human trafficking does happen in Iowa. It's an important issue, and Last Watch has been working on this issue for a long time now. And it's been my honor to be a very small part of their efforts. So thank you. Now,
I can't help myself, but your wife has also been a big part of it, just as you have been here when she was here prosecuting things like that, those types of crimes.
Yeah, my wife Sarah spent 20 years as a professional prosecutor and specialized in domestic violence and sexual assault crimes. So,
Sorry to interrupt.
yes. So the last thing I would just like to say, drugs are a problem in Iowa and in the United States. When I was the police chief in Nevada, we had a heroin problem. So, most of the drugs come into this country from the southern border. So I guess we could make an argument, if you want to oversimplify things, that every city in Iowa has a gang problem. They do not. And I wasn't here when this happened, but in the early 90s, there was somebody that thought it would be a good idea to say that Marshalltown was the meth capital of whatever. We're not. And that has harmed us ever since. So Marshalltown is a beautiful community with hardworking people. We're blue collar. We take care of each other. We stick together. We're diverse in so many different ways. We look like the rest of the world. And that's why I came here 13 years ago. And I love it. Marshalltown's my home. It's going to continue to be my home. And I celebrate it. Do we have some problems that need to be worked out? Absolutely. But to oversimplify issues and say things that are unfounded does not help us. These are complicated issues. So, thank you for this. I do not deserve this. Everything good that has happened in the Marshalltown Police Department the last 13 years belongs to the men and women that work in the police department. I deserve zero credit for any of it. It's been my honor to serve alongside those people. And I love this job. And I'll be honest with you, I don't want to leave, but it's time. I need to do something else. But I've had some sleepless nights thinking I'm making the biggest mistake of my life. And I might be. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know what's next for me, but it's not going to be as good as what I'm walking away from. And I appreciate everything. Now I will take credit for all of the stupid things that may have happened or mistakes that may have happened. Those are 100% my fault. I get credit for that. But anything good, it belongs to the men and women working at the police department. So it's been my honor to work for you. But most importantly, it's been my honor to work for the citizens, the community members of Marshalltown. They have embraced the Tupper family, and I just don't have the words to accurately describe how I feel or how much I appreciate it. So Chris Jones is going to be the best police chief this community's ever seen, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does next. So thank you for this, and I'm here for 4 more days. So I promise Chris I won't spend all of his money in the budget, but I am here for 4 more days, so if there's anything I can do, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Yes, you can.
I'd like to point out, I was on city council quite a few years, a couple decades ago, and I remember the police department, the Marshalltown Police Department, very well. The difference between 2 decades ago and now is like between night and day. I often tell people that we have the best police force in the state. And I truly mean that. Your attitudes, your professionalism, and everything like that, I believe is something to really be proud of. It used to be that we would get calls quite a few times on city council about police conduct, that kind of thing. I don't get those. None. And I believe that a lot of that is because of what Mike Tupper brought to the police department. He knew it needed to change, and he did do that. And all for the better. So even though Mike may retire, he's always going to be with us with the professionalism that he built here and that Marshalltown's going to be lucky enough to have for many more years with Chris. Thank you.
Literally, the last thing I did before coming here was reply to the TR's staff asking for comments that they'll run in the newspaper. So I didn't say those. I thought I could probably not get emotional if I just read what was on the plaque. Read the TR this weekend. Thank you. Well, with the bad news of a retirement, we have one door closes, another door opens, and the good news is, the fun part is, and what I said you'll read in the newspapers, one of the things that Chief Tupper did is he trained several officers who could have taken his place. And it's time to swear in the one who is taking his place. So if you'd come up, Chris Jones. Let's do the same thing. I actually have to swear you in, but let me try it from up here sitting down so people can hear it. You bet. Yeah, come on up. See you. Yeah, raise your right hand. Yeah. Do you solemnly swear on your oath as follows? I, Christopher Jones, do solemnly swear
I, Christopher Jones, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all duties of the office of Police Chief.
discharge all duties of the office of police chief.
If I were smart, I'd have you read these, because I've got another one here. In the city of Marshalltown, Marshall County, state of Iowa,
In the city of Marshalltown, Marshall County, state of Iowa,
as now or hereafter required by law.
and is now hereafter required by law.
You have to sign two of these oaths, and it will be official. Oh, yeah. You get a copy, and I'm sure Robert, did you get a good enough photo? Okay, great. Don't draw any blood. And while you're doing that, one of the fun things of being the mayor is you get to do things like interview the next people that are coming in to things like this. I wish you could have been at the interview. Thank you.
Chris Jones, Chief of Police for the City of Marshalltown. The support has been absolutely overwhelming the last couple months. I want to thank the council, the mayor, Carol, the chief, city staff, my staff, and my family. It's just been it's been outstanding. Living here for the last 29 years, I grew up always wanting to be a police officer and not really knowing where that was going to lead in the long term. Spent some time in high school with Police Explorers programs, branched out through my college career at Iowa State University, and then was lucky enough to be hired here. And my only goal at the beginning was to make the most of the short amount of time that I believed that I could do this job, and set out to see what I could accomplish. And every once in a while, when I introduce myself and explain where I work and what I do, oftentimes people say, you know, I could never do what you do. And I'm always kind of taken back by it. I don't really know what to say or respond. You know, it's not really that big of a deal. You understand, you learn, you know, you get training and, you know, you figure out how to do it. But when you realize when somebody comes up to you and says that you're a police officer and knows the types of skills and things that you're required to do at a second's notice, moment's notice, the potential ridicule and cynicism that we are often around, and long hours and holidays, and you try to take on that burden alone, individually, and you think that you, I could understand how it's overwhelming, and I understand why somebody would not want to step into these positions to do this. But what people need to understand is I did not get here by myself. And there's a group of people here that have come to support me. Many of them have helped me in all of my bad times, have encouraged me to continue to build this agency and make it into what we believe it's going to be. And building those relationships and continuing to build those relationships are my major priority, because I know that none of us can do it ourselves. And as a city, collectively, we are going to make Marshalltown a safe place to live. And once again, I want to thank you. I want to thank my my mom, my family from Arizona that's streaming online, my children in the back that had come from all over to be here with me. But once again, I want to thank you, and I want you to understand that I will always be here for the city of Marshalltown. My staff will always be here, and we will do everything in my power to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you. What the people at home streaming won't know, because they can't see it, is we've never had so many people in this room since I started here 14 years ago on the city council. And that's a testament to our position, the position of our outgoing and our incoming police chief. So that's pretty remarkable. Thank you for coming. With that said, let's go on to the regular business of the day. I always invite people to leave if they are not wanting to stick around to hear the mundane things.
Your Honor, I'd move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
And I think one of the items actually we are going to call for. No, that's a different. That comes later. Yep, okay. Call the roll.
Kell.
Yes.
Roddy Hoff.
Yes.
Mitchell. Nichols.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Fonseca. Yes.
Very good. That carried. On to reports then, and we are not done with the Marshalltown Police Department. There's a flock camera project update.
Hi, Kyle Stevenson, Captain Marshalltown Police Department. That's a really hard act to follow here, so I'll try not to bore you here. I'm here today to talk about our flock cameras, mostly to give an update, but just to talk about some of our successes, and also to talk about some things in the future as far as cameras go. So as you know, we currently have 32 cameras that have been strategically placed here throughout the city of Marshalltown. We went into this with a plan to cover main thoroughfares in and out of town, also places that people move within the city. Unfortunately, when this project started, this was in about March of this year, or sorry, March of 24 is when the project started and the installation started. We did run into some issues with getting state permitting for most of the ones that run Highway 14. So we didn't actually have this whole program up and running until August of this year. So I'm going to give you stats that started back in around March, but we really only have about 4 or 5 months of full implementation of this program, if that gives you a little vindication. It seems like anymore that flock cameras are being used on almost every case. Almost every large case, major case that we're using, flock cameras have come into play. I encourage each of you, if you run into officers on the street, ask them, don't take just my word for it. Talk to the people that are using it day in and day out, and they'll tell you the successes we've had and how much we rely on this day in and day out, from anything from minor theft calls to major incidents in our community. So some of the numbers that I had, I'm going to tell you these numbers are as accurate as I can get them. I rely on officers reporting their own data. So if they have a use, they have to report that. So I would say, if anything, these are probably underrepresented. But so far we have 36 times where people have said that flock has generated leads for them. It has led to 86 cases being cleared by arrest, with a total of 92 arrests made. And then 7 additional warrants have been issued for people because of flock cameras. I'm going to talk about some highlighted cases. I do got to give you a warning. We're all such a short time here. A lot of these are active cases, so I can't go into detail. You can use your imagination and probably figure out some of the cases I'm talking about. We've used this case on 2 homicide investigations from the Marshalltown Police Department. We've used cameras on 1 homicide investigation that was outside of our agency. We utilized the cameras to solve, it's the sole way that we solved the theft of more than $50,000 worth of equipment from a local business. We had a multi-county burglary investigation that impacted our community as well as many communities around us, solved by flock cameras. We had a multi-state skimmer case that touched our community. As many people know, flock cameras were instrumental in solving that case. We had a multi-state fraud investigation that we recently took. Many other agencies across the state were working on this. We have a super user, Officer Weisfenning. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to meet him. I'll give Andy a shout out here. He's our super user for flock. He uses it. He's our go-to if anybody has a question. But he got a call from another agency, and within like 3 minutes, he identified the people that they had not been able to identify. They'd come to our community, cashed a bad check, and as it turns out, they were traveling all over other states, and thousands of dollars worth of checks that they'd cashed. So this has been instrumental for us, and I venture to say that it's probably been one of the best things that we've done technology-wise since I started the police department. Talking into the future, obviously, you know how I feel. I'm going to highly encourage that we find a way to continue to fund this. If I had my way, I would try to find a way to expand this program. The nice thing about Flock is they have a pretty steady funding model. So it's $3,000 per camera. It doesn't matter what type of camera, and they offer different types of cameras. The LPR, the license plate reader cameras, are instrumental in all the things that I'm talking to you about, but they also have pan, tilt, zoom type cameras that can show us what's going on in places. I think we have some opportunities in our community, not only as a city, but maybe as a business district, as different businesses individually could support this program, and we could have some other options as far as the pan, tilt, zoom type things. But I think we could look at even additional LPR cameras. When we signed the contract, this is a 2-year contract. Because of the delay when we originally got started, they've given us some grace period in there. So our actual contract ends in May of 2026. For fiscal budgeting reasons, I have talked to them and asked about the possibility of extending that grace period out and giving us an additional 2 months, where if we could update the contract, we would actually could sign that and make the first payment after July of 26. That gives us a little bit of buffer in here for planning on your part. But just, I want you to have the heads up that I am going to request additional funding for that July 2026 timeframe to at minimum maintain what we have going right now, if not maybe expand and find ways to expand in the future. I do think there's opportunities, again, for different locations and different things, and that's all stuff that we're going to be looking into going forward. And I hope to come back and see you here maybe every few months and kind of keep you updated on the progress. And I'm also happy to answer any questions now or any questions at all. Feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Questions up here?
Thanks.
Your Honor, if I may.
You may.
Hey, Kyle, don't tell me actual locations, but the 32 cameras are all up and running. So give me a number when you said additional locations. Can you give us a number? Obviously, there's some holes in the system. 32 is not enough for our landscape. Is that a half dozen? Is it a dozen? Because you know where the holes are.
It's a great question. It's something that we're evaluating right now. So to get, I don't have a great answer, but yeah, I mean, in my mind, as far as the LPR cameras alone, in my mind, 8 to 10 more of those, I think we could cover up some gaps. If we were going to talk about the pan tilt zoom style cameras, I mean, I think that expands even more. I mean, that's the nice thing about this is they're infrastructure free, minus a pole that they have to put into the ground, but they run off solar and cell service. So this is what we ran into, as you recall, when we went through this project, is we don't have to have power run to them. We don't have to have internet, anything else. Everything's run off cell. So, you know, we could cover parks, we could cover businesses, we could cover all, you know, parking lots. There's all sorts of places we could cover with the pan tilt zoom as well. So yeah, hope that's the best it can. I will have an actual thought out plan when we make a request if we're going to ask for more, though. I thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Your Honor, may I?
You sure may.
Captain Stevenson, for the cameras, is it the 2-year contract? Is the equipment like part of the? Is not owned, right? Or is it owned?
Correct. The equipment still belongs to Flock, so it's their stuff. They maintain it. It's a flat fee, $3,000, gets us the equipment, gets us full maintenance. Any issues go on, they'll replace it, they'll fix it, but it is not ours at the end. But again, the price remains the same going forward too. I did check on this before this meeting to see the pricing. The $3,000 remains the pricing. They did say they've had one price increase since they started the company. He did say if there is a price increase between now and then, that could be more, you know, it could be more per camera. But he said their goal is to not increase that as long as they can.
Okay, so it's just the $3,000 for the 2 years, just the service.
Correct. 3,000. Yeah, it's 3,000 per year.
Per year. Oh, per year. Okay.
Per camera. Yep.
Oh, per camera. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, I forgot about that. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other council comments? Then I'll open it to the public if not. Public comment.
Jim Shaw, 522 North 2nd Street. The Flock cameras, I've been told at least 3 times, standing right here, that these were license plate readers only. Okay, and that's what was voted on, and that's what we have. And now I'm hearing that we're going to have handheld units that are going to observe businesses and parking lots, and are we still just looking at license plates? And I'm glad that we caught all the people, the bad people, the skimmers and all those people, but I want to maintain that we still are looking at license plates. Are we?
Yeah, the program that you have approved and you have funded and we are currently operating is license plate reader cameras. I'm simply saying there are other opportunities and there would be other community benefits to regular cameras. I'll also point out that we already have cameras in intersections, cameras in certain parking lots in our community, which we've had for years. I'll also point out that there's cameras on almost every business that we get access to, homes, many homes have cameras. So we're often going to other sources to find camera footage of incidents. I'm simply saying that we do have an opportunity to increase this with council approval to get additional. But right now, it's just the license plate readers.
Thank you. Any other public comment or questions? Yes, sir.
Mike Tupper, Marshalltown Police Department. I just want to say Captain Kyle Stevenson has worked his tail off on this project. He's done a great job managing this project, and it is paying dividends for us in terms of enhanced public safety. Okay, it's a force multiplier for us. I said it at the last council meeting, and I'm going to say it one more time before I'm out of here. We have a budgeted strength of 42 police officers. We have work for 50. I've been saying that for 13 years. These cameras help us with the force multiplier to get some extra help, some extra eyes in the community. So we're not trying to set up a surveillance state. Right now, all we have is license plate readers. That's what you approved almost 2 years ago now. But I would challenge the council to just consider, as you're rebuilding Main Street, developing other areas of the community, developing parks, protect that important infrastructure, and cameras go a long way to doing that. So I think it's an opportunity for the city. Technology is everything in this business anymore, and in 5 years, technology is going to continue to grow in this business. And I remember when I started 32 years ago, there was 2 computers in the police department, and I was the IT guy because I knew how to set up a VCR. Okay, now it's getting very complicated, and I appreciate everything the council's done to support our technology requests, and I'm going to challenge you to continue that because it's going to be very important to the future safety of the community. Thank you.
Your Honor, I have a question for Chief Tupper.
Sure.
For the footage and all the the videos and all that, is that only for the Marshalltown Police Team to see, or are there any other places that get to see that?
We have shared it with other law enforcement agencies. So if the sheriff's office has an investigation and they need some footage, we've shared it. It's a very small world that we live in today, right? And so the criminals that we're chasing in Marshalltown are committing crimes in other communities. And maybe you saw that Newton just arrested one of the credit card skimmers that we arrested for credit card skimming there, right? So we share technology and resources and footage with other law enforcement agencies, and they share theirs with our department as well. So we're not passing them out as public records requests, or if you called me and said I want footage, you're not going to get it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other public comment about this one? Monty? Sure.
I don't know anything about all the flock names. I'm not sure what those letters stand for. I don't know anything about the cameras or license plates or looking at people, but it's a good thing. If you don't want to do anything wrong, Mother May I, don't be naughty and you won't get caught. It helps the chief not have to have so many police officers. Think how much money he's saving, and listen to the stuff that he said it solved, or the other gentleman said it solved and solved and solved. I got a ticket on Lincoln Way. I got a ticket on 12th Avenue. Just a little bit into the threshold of getting it, but pay it like a big boy. I'm in a hurry, but it was just barely into that threshold. But I say you get more. If he wants 8 to 10, give him 10.
I haven't gotten one on 18th Avenue yet. Any other public comment? What? Okay. Well, let me just pile on about what the chief said. Kyle, the first time up here any discussion was had about getting safety cameras downtown and the intersections and at the major intersections. You were in charge of that project back then. You did all the research, and that has solved some issues about who was at fault. Was the light green or red at those intersections? So those cameras have done those things, but I appreciate the flock camera work. I also want to comment that you are one of the candidates to be our next police chief, and your interview I wish people could have heard, and there's no question. When you read in the newspaper that I said that there were 3 officers that I would have easily, as the mayor, said, to the council, let's appoint them, and you were certainly one of them. So thank you for what you do for the police force, and thanks for the report tonight. Okay. Well, let's move on to the next item. Motions. First one.
Motion to approve a new Class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service for Lucy's Dive Bar at 207 East Main Street.
Move for approval, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Second.
Very good. And for discussion, I think we might have the new owners here. We'd love to meet you.
Okay, so my name is Edgar. This is Luce. We are the new owners of Lucy's Dive Bar, which used to be known as Dave and Sally's. We're pretty excited to bring in something new to Marshalltown while preserving the beauty of that building, because that's...
And I'd hate to interrupt you already, but either your home address or the address of the bar, because sometimes people get their business addresses here too,
Sure.
just for the record.
Business address is 207 East Main Street. So,
Okay. Sorry to,
Right.
I hope I didn't derail.
No, you're okay. This is my first time doing this, so this is an experience altogether. But yeah, it's been a labor of love. We both put in a lot of time into trying to preserve the building and while bringing something new to the city of Marshalltown. Alicia's been awesome at giving us in the right direction with all of our contacts and everything like that, and we're just excited to bring a lot. We both serve in the military here, so we're no strangers to service and all that, so it's kind of awesome to give back to the city of Marshalltown in a different facet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any, well, it is time for discussion, so any comments or questions up here?
Your Honor, if I may.
Sure.
I think Luce would like to maybe say that her mom is a small business owner already downtown.
Yes, she is. She is the owner of Seven Riles Liquor Store on Main Street. So that is
Until I quit drinking, she knew me well. Coming up on February 1, that's 4 years. But very nice lady. I've enjoyed that. Yeah.
She is a hard worker.
We're just, we've become the home base county. We've got the new memorial that's going to be feated in the courthouse. We've got the military banners. We've got the veterans home. We have the new veterans clinic. We are Iowa's capital for veterans, and it's fun to have a young couple like you investing in the community, and especially downtown here. Thank you.
Yes, we'll look forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah. On that note, let's call the roll.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Fonseca?
Yes.
Kell?
Yes.
Lottie
Yes.
Very good. That carried as well. Next motion.
Motion to approve a new Class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service for Bobcat Pines LLC at 1301 South 6th Street, which is the American Legion.
Move for approval, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Second.
The discussion?
Yes, Your Honor. The American Legion has terminated their license that they currently have, and they are contracting their services out to Bobcat Pines LLC. They're expected to take over February 1st.
Thank you. We typically do ask the chief if there have been any reports of any problems. I think in my history of being here 14 years, only once has the chief recommended against a permit. Any reason this time?
Walk up to the mic so you can hear me. I have zero concern, so I would recommend approval.
Well, and the American Legion is another one of the reasons that we're the state's capital for veterans. Too.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Roll call.
Schneider?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Fonseca? Yes. Kell?
Yes.
Lottie
Yes.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Carried. On to the discussion items, the first of which is the capital improvement plan. Now we get into the fun stuff.
Thank you, Your Honor. So tonight we're going to review the city's capital improvement plan. The capital plan contains capital outlay and improvements that the staff have identified as the city needing in the next 5 years. Capital assets include things like land improvements, buildings, building improvements, vehicles, machinery, equipment, and infrastructure. The city has a capital assets and depreciation policy that sets certain capitalization thresholds. For example, things like machinery and equipment with a useful life of over 1 year and with a value of over $5,000 is considered a capital asset. You can look at that depreciation policy for the thresholds for other types of capital improvements. In your packet is a capital improvement plan. There are two attachments. One is capital projects that are grouped by funding source. So for example, if you look at page 2 of the handout, you can see that all of the projects that are listed for using road use tax, that's a funding source. So you can review all of the projects by what type of funding we propose to use for that project. On page 5, you'll see is Fund 357. That's those are the capital projects that have been identified for possible future bond issues. And then on page 6, you can see Funds 363, 364, and 365, which are all of the projects for which we have issued current bonds. So there's a lot of information here in this packet. I won't go through every project. We've also included a handout that has a description of all the projects that are in the plan. If you have questions about any specific project, we can have a department director come up and speak to those. So with that, I'll turn it back to council for any questions.
Are there any?
Your Honor, may I?
Sure.
Carol, I do have a question on Fund 365, the Edgewood Extension project. I think it lists out that it needs additional funding. So wondering, is there a plan for that, or?
I'm sorry, which fund, council member?
365. Fund 365. Am I on the right one?
I don't see, are you looking at?
From the memo, I think on page 36.
There's East Main Street in Fund 365.
Fund 311, I think, is what she's looking at.
Oh, yep, sorry, Fund 311.
So what's your specific question?
Did it say that it needed some additional funding?
Oh, in the description?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'd have to ask Heather to come up and speak to that.
The Edgewood project was the one that we extended North 8th Ave and Edgewood Street. The major part of the construction is complete. We did have a project budget established, and part of that project budget used ARPA funds. However, in December, you guys reallocated the ARPA funds that had not been spent. And so the ARPA funds had actually been spent. However, they did not have a financial transfer made at that time. So that pot of funds, and I believe Diana put the amount in the memo, that money got reallocated to a different use, and that's why it's saying that that fund is now short. That project, like I said, is mostly complete. We do are holding a project budget balance for a couple different things. We would like to install street lighting. However, it does not make sense for us to do that now. There is not electricity run along the roads. It is more cost effective for the city to do that at the time that there is a need for the electricity to be run. Then we do not pay for the linear feet of electricity. So we were holding a project fund balance to do those types of things. There's also been discussion about possibly needing a fence between the far east side of that project and the compost facility to kind of complete and close that off. So those are the two items that remain on that project. And like I said, the note in there, I think, was from the finance director about the allocation and reallocation of part of the funds that were designated to this project.
Thank you, Heather.
Any other questions or comments? I can invite the public on this one too, I think. Okay. Transit fund?
Yes.
All right. Transit Fund 690. You taking the lead on this one too?
Heather,
Heather? Okay.
Heather Thomas, our Public Works Director, will speak to the Transit Fund.
Good evening, Heather Thomas, Public Works Director. We also have Kevin Pagors in the audience, our transit superintendent, that if there's additional questions, he's happy to assist in answering those. I'm going to use this opportunity to talk a little bit about positives from the last year, some challenges from the last year and moving forward, talk about the budget, both a budget fiscal year 25 amendment, which is the year we're currently in, and the fiscal year 26 ask. That leads into the topic of what to set our transit levy at for the next year. So I'm going to open a memo. I also have included in your packet the line-by-line item for transit in the budget comparison report. That shows what was spent in fiscal year 24, what was initially budgeted in fiscal year 25, what is our amended request for fiscal year 25, and also our request for fiscal year 26. So just going over a couple of highlights and things that have happened. This past year, we did set up a insurance reserve fund. So we took $25,000 of fund balance over to Fund 691 now. As we talked about budget about a year ago, we talked about trying to get closer to a balanced budget. And in that, we eliminated the purple/pink route. We eliminated a position, either a full-time position or 2 part-time positions, depending on which positions we could fill. We also stopped the non-seasonal fixed routes at 5 p.m. in lieu of 6 p.m. And we are proposing to continue with those service cuts at this time and not bring those back. We're doing that a little bit because of staffing, but then also for budgeting reasons as well. So as we look at last year, efficiency is one of the things I like to look at. In fiscal year 24, we provided a 7.2% increase in ridership at a 27.9% less revenue hours, so that's how long we're physically driving the buses, and a 13.5% less revenue miles, so the distances of our routes. So that's basically just kind of some statistics showing you that we became a more efficient transit system. We continue to have a strong partnership with the Marshalltown Community School District. In fiscal year 24, we're up to providing 50,600 rides for students. That accounts for about 40% of our ridership. We are also servicing a lot of elderly and disabled. They account for about 23.5% of our ridership. This past year, in fact, just starting in November, we also have now a partnership with the Iowa Veterans Home, where we provide them discounted bus passes for use for their residents. This past year, we also received 2 recognitions, one from the federal region for our ridership increase, and then we were also named the DOT Small Urban Transit System of the Year. We also continue to utilize and are appreciative of our bilingual staff. We have all of our routes, our policies in both English and Spanish available. We have transit driver, a transit mechanic, and our public works office manager are all bilingual in English and Spanish, and that is very beneficial with our ridership. So those are some great things, but it has not been without challenges. Probably one of our largest challenges has been staffing. We do have some staff that are currently out on light duty, unable to drive a bus or out for medical reasons. That, in addition to a vacancy, has led to a lot of long hours by our current staff. So our mechanic and our transit superintendent are driving a bus almost every day right now. So that has led to some negative impacts on some other areas of the transit facility that we're hoping to address through some increased staffing and hopefully filling some vacancy positions. We also have been suspending a route 3 to 4 p.m. every day, and then anytime we have somebody out for a vacation or call in sick, we also have to do additional cancellations that day on the day of, and that's where we're at right now for staffing. Another challenge is our bus conditions and inventory. We have several buses that are at or past their end of life. We've been working on getting those replaced. However, we are utilizing a program that has an 85-15% cost share. So federal is a 85% grant, and the city pays the 15% local match. We have 4 buses currently that meet the priority points for that. One of them we had on the schedule to have replaced and pay for that this fiscal year 25. 2 of them were on the schedule for fiscal year 26, and one is out, I think, in fiscal year 29. We've had a significant delay from the federal government, and they have not signed any grant agreements since federal fiscal year 2022. So we continue to push those back. A bus currently costs between $600,000 and $700,000 new. So we would prefer to wait until we're able to capitalize on those 85% grants. So you'll see in my memo, I've kind of kept, at least for those first 3, our local share and kind of set that aside in our budgeting. Another challenge with doing budget at this time of year is our estimates from the DOT for the state transit assistance and also federal transit assistance, which makes up a good share of our income. That usually does not come out sometime between January and March. We have not yet received those estimates for the next fiscal year. So when we put this budget together, we kind of made assumptions on what we may or may not get. We increased our ridership, which is great, which generally results in an increased amount from them. But we also increased our efficiency, which made us drive less miles, and that is also a contributing factor to how much we receive. So a little bit of a double-edged sword on that one. It also does compare us with the other small urban transit facilities in Iowa. So if their increased in ridership matches ours, we kind of compare against them. So those estimates are not in. Like I said, I did my best at estimating those. A little bit is justified in my memo of the numbers I used. Another one is this fiscal year, our federal transit revenue, projected at $336,000. We have not received any of that this fiscal year. We've also not received the signed contract. So when they provide us that money, it is an estimate. And until it's signed, in fact, I'd probably prefer to say until it's in our bank, there's no guarantees. Earlier today, I talked with some other transit staff in other organizations, and they're all kind of in a very similar thought process as me right now. While nobody from the state or the federal government has told us that funding is in jeopardy, we're 7 months into this fiscal year yet, and we've not received anything or a signed contract. So there is a little bit of uneasiness right now with what the future of federal transit funding may be. So those were also taken into account when I'm making my recommendations on what to do for the next 2 fiscal years. Next in my memo are a couple of sheets that just show statistics from the last 8 years. They're there if anybody has questions. Otherwise, I'll just keep moving down. Next is the transit tax levy. I'm recommending we hold our transit tax levy at 40 cents, which is what we had this current fiscal year for fiscal year 26. The Iowa code allows us to go up to 95 cents, but again, I'm recommending holding it at 40 cents. This next table is kind of a little bit of the analysis that I did in recommending to hold that at 40 cents. At the very bottom, I'm taking out that local share of the 3 buses. If we wanted to balance the fiscal year 26 budget, I would be requesting a tax levy of 54 cents. If we wanted to be conservative and say, hey, we haven't got any federal funding this year. If we don't get it, that is the second column there, taking out this year's estimate for federal funding. The very bottom row is where that puts us at the end of fiscal year 26 as a % of our annual operating expense. From a good practice, especially with the delay that some of our reimbursement comes in, I like to keep that number around 50%. So holding it at 40% puts us in the 36% if that federal funding doesn't come through, or 60% if it does. So that's where I'm recommending we stay for right now. Also, as we look at the budgets for fiscal year 25 and 26, when I came to you last year, I was asking you to approve a budget in the deficit or in the red of $281,000. A part of that was because we were purchasing a bus, and our local share was about $100,000. My amendment tonight is taking that in the red $281,000 to in the black of $99,000. Again, $100,000 of that is because we're not buying a bus this year, and the other difference is because we've had such short staffing. We've driven less miles, had less expenses, and probably the bigger one is our mechanic has not been in the shop to do our repairs. So we are definitely backlogged on what we need to do for budget on repairs and maintenance. In fiscal year 26, the budget I'm asking you to approve would put us in the black, $140,000. Again, generally, we have some unspent funds because of staffing and other things, but that's what I'm asking tonight at a tax levy rate of 40 cents. And with that, I will open it up for questions.
Council questions or comments? Public comment?
Your Honor, if I may.
You may.
Heather, you understand there's a double-edged sword here. If you get back to full staff and you put your mechanic back in the shop, that's a huge hit on us because you're going to be buying a lot of parts to get caught up. Plus, you're back to those full staff driving those routes. So I guess I'm curious, how can you stand there? And I'm being optimistic that you will get back to full staff. So how can you say hold the levy the same? Because we're going to have to buy another bus.
Yep.
And you put that off.
So I've accounted for the 3 buses that were planned to be bought, 1 in 25, 2 in 26, which I'm now showing is 27 in the table that you're looking at. I also don't think getting our mechanic back in the shop is a double-edged sword. It's a necessity at this point. We don't have on certain days enough buses that are operable to run, so we need those repairs to made just to continue to provide service. So yes, we will increase the expense by having staff and stuff, but that's taken into account already in the numbers I'm presenting. I mean, that's why this fiscal year we have a $380,000 swing. 100 of that is the bus, 280 is staffing and repairs.
So I'm leaning towards increasing the levy for transit because if the federal money doesn't come in, now we'd be playing catch-up, right?
No, we'd still be good for another year or two, depending on how the federal grant comes out with the transit buses. Again, my recommendation right now would be to hold at 40 cents, see what happens with the federal government. Our increased ridership potentially would increase our funding if the historical records and projections hold true.
Your Honor? Yes. So if the federal funding doesn't come through, would we be revisiting that now or revisiting that in the near future when that doesn't come through?
We'd be revisiting that next year. My second column in there is if the federal funding doesn't hold true or doesn't come through, that would take our percentage down to 36%, which we can accommodate for a year.
Heather, I know there were some other opportunities for getting like used SciRide buses and things like that. Did that not happen, or were those buses just so near the end of their life they're not doing us any good?
A combination of both. In the CIP document that you guys just reviewed, I've budgeted for 2 SciRide buses a year. Right now, our problem is they're not available. I think a lot of people are holding onto their buses for the same reason that we have a little bit of uncomfortable feeling with what's going on right now, but we continue to reach out to SciRide and evaluate if and when a bus does come available. If we're even getting a bus that's not a great bus, but we can use it for parts to keep the buses we have running, we're going to do that. And so we do have that budgeted.
Other questions or comments up here? Any?
May I ask another one, Your Honor? Heather, do you feel we're capturing all eligible students within that 2-mile radius? I guess I didn't ask you that earlier today when we talked. Do you feel that we can capture more ridership, or you're probably going to tell me we don't have the room for more ridership?
We don't have the buses or the staffing right now. We are overcrowded. We had to add a second bus for another route. But those buses that we are currently waiting on the federal agreement for, those are some of our 130 and 240-foot buses. We need 40-foot buses to be able to accommodate students in the morning. But I do think there's some potential for some increase there if we're able to work through those two issues.
Yeah, but it's probably not cost effective, though, adding a route and a bus.
It would be cost effective if they're on the student route side. We're able to run routes with higher counts. That helps us overall, brings our cost per ride down, and also enables us to capture more FTA and STA funding.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Sure.
Your Honor, may I?
You may.
Heather, the 140,000, could you explain that a little bit more? You were talking about 140,000. You said something about that number.
I remember saying 100,000, which is the local share cost of a bus. If somebody could help me where the 140.
I heard 140,000 and then with the 40-cent levy. Right?
Yeah, you said that the fiscal year 26 budget that you're looking for approval on is 140,000.
Yeah, so with a 40-cent levy, we're asking you to approve a fiscal year 26, which would take $140,968 out of our cash, essentially. So we're asking you to approve a budget that is in the red, knowing that historically we've not always used all of our funding authority.
Okay, so asking us to move that from the cash to which account?
It's an enterprise account.
Oh, okay.
So it's already in Fund 690. So we would just be tapping into the fund balance if that was needed in fiscal year 26.
Okay, and would that be something that needing to do now, or what are you thinking?
Nope. On an enterprise account, you're able to do that at any time, and it doesn't require the transfers and journal entries that it would in some of the other bond and general fund.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, well, something I'm worried about here is that if this federal money doesn't come through and we must buy a used bus, that really depletes our fund balance quite a bit over the next few years. I think I'd rather see a little tick up in the levy rate right now to try to get ahead of this. And if they do come through, we can lower it next year. But I'd rather see like a 45 cent or maybe 50 cent rather than having to take it to like 80 or 90 cents to catch up, because I know there's a lot of people whose livelihood depends on these buses running. So I think I would like to direct staff to come back with projections at 45 and 50 cents so we can see what those look at, and we could decide later.
Yeah, so a 45-cent levy looks like it would increase about 45,000, a 5-cent levy. So.
You may.
Heather, remember, you have no risk in this, okay? If we increase this, the heat is going to be on us, okay? I guess what I think we're thinking is we're less of a gambler than you are, that you're trying to be optimistic, we're trying to be not pessimistic, but realistic, that if the bottom drops out of this, we don't want to chase this year after year. So I don't think 45 cents is enough. I guess I should ask before was that a motion?
It was.
Oh, sorry.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
May I continue?
You could move to amend.
No, I don't want to. Let's just discuss for now, because you'll come back to me.
What I'm curious about is what's the drawback in going to 45 cents or 50 cents?
I don't think it's enough, Your Honor. That's the drawback.
No, I'm asking Heather on that one.
I think the city administrator would like to make a comment.
So I think it's keeping in mind how much are you willing to raise the overall tax rate? So we have other levies to consider here. So, I think it's perfectly fine for us to go back and look at different scenarios, right, for this levy, but recognizing that if we want to hold at the 16 that we have now, then that might mean adjusting other levies. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, presenting this to you tonight is kind of looking at it as a siloed approach, right? And that's not the greatest way to do things. But we wanted to get the information out in front of you on where the transit enterprise fund stands. But as the administrator mentioned, you know, if we are looking to hold the $16 levy, if we go 10 cents up here, something else has got to go down 10 cents. So, like I said, we brought our recommendation through. I might be conservative in the sense that, like I said, nobody from the state or federal government is telling us we're not getting these federal funds. You know, I almost hesitated to even bring it up, but I wanted to run the scenario, the what-if scenario is if we don't. And from my comfort level, I felt we were still okay at the 36%. But ultimately, it's your guys' call.
Yeah, if council would like, we could take Heather's chart here and run a couple of scenarios for 45, 50, and whatever you want. And then when we bring back the discussion on the other levies, then we can talk about those options in that context.
Your Honor?
Yep.
Since we're living in hypothetical world, talking about what ifs or might happens, the reality is we have a mechanic driving a fair amount of time, which means buses are not getting repaired or there may not be buses operable. The hypothetical scenario, how do we rectify that?
Yeah, we need, you know, the way that the city is set up right now is we can't hire because we have existing staff that are on light duty. We can't hire because we have somebody out on medical leave. That's 3 staff members we have right now. That's a large share of our staff. We do currently have a vacant full-time and part-time position. We have made an offer to a full-time person. That person's going to be required to go through CDL training, so they're still months out from being able to drive a bus for us, but that's kind of the system we're in. At the Region 6 board meeting earlier today, you know, People Rides is in a very similar situation to us. Their starting wage is down at like $16.50 an hour. We're a little bit over $20 an hour, but it is challenging to get transit drivers here in this region. There are also other transits, even in Metro, struggling to get drivers. In a conversation with the administrator, Muscatine previously used part-time drivers. That would be our ideal situation. We just can't find them. So if there's somebody out there not working who wants to work, come work for us 29 hours a week. We would love to have you. That is our ideal situation from balancing revenue and expenses as well, especially with the influx in school transportation. You know, we have a high need in the morning and we have a high need at the end of the day. Using full-time drivers, that makes it a little more challenging. Split shifts are not always enjoyable. So we try our best to arrange drivers to be able to cover. But like I said, when we have 3 staff members currently not able to drive, it's challenging with the low number of staff that we have.
How long would
on
it
the roll.
take the soon-to-be unchief Tupper to get a CDL?
2.5 months would likely be the, you know, onboarding time for somebody who does not currently have their CDL.
I have to throw out 2 shout-outs. One to you for handling this and other departments and figuring out the finances and that sort of thing. And the other to Kevin, who
Absolutely.
really, the writers love him. The staff you do have like how this is run, and he's got to adjust on a daily basis. We get the memos and that sort of thing. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I took a ride in the last year, and that was a real eye-opener about how critical it is to have this service available to people. So appreciate that. Anyway, we do have a motion pending.
I have a question for the city administrator before we vote, Your Honor.
Okay.
Do firefighters have CDLs?
Do you want me to answer that?
No.
No.
We're exempt under Iowa code.
Any other council comment? I know there's a citizen who'd like to comment after the council is done with questions, and we still need to take a vote too, but.
Your Honor, I have just one last question.
Okay, sure.
Heather, we were talking about the employment opportunity. For the CDL part, would the future employee need to cover that? And do we know how much it is to get their CDL, or is there?
Yeah, we have an agreement that's set up where we will pay 100% upfront. If they work for us 3 years, they don't owe us anything. If they leave before a 3-year period, there's a graduated scale of reimbursing the city for some of that expense. For rough numbers, the cost of getting them their CDL and through the training, we're fortunate. Kevin is very good at his job and is able to do a lot of the training here in-house. We do send somebody up to Mason City for their CDL, and we have a total cost of about $1,100 in.
Your Honor, if I may.
May.
I guess in thinking about this, I, for one, would like to see options come back as in relationship to the other levies that we're going to be looking at before we decide to pick a number on this, so we know what the ramifications are for everything. I just think that that would be a wiser way to go, so we can see the whole picture.
All right, public comment?
Linda Clark, 306 South 2nd Avenue. And I had a thought. I know that Heather has been working very well with the school system, and we do have education programs. I'm wondering if maybe there couldn't be a partnership more to get student, involved, at the high school level or the college level that would be willing to take the CDL training. It's just the thought that I was thinking that might be a possibility because, like DMAC has all kinds of things, and I'm sure Marshalltown Community College may have, and I wonder if Heather has have you considered that, Heather? Because she's very frugal, and I'm optimistic just like she is. And I think that that might be something that could be looked into because we probably have some younger ones that would maybe be interested in job shadowing and training. What do you think? That's just a thought, Heather. I appreciate all the frugalness that you do.
We have actually talked to Marshalltown Community College about CDL training. The cost of us using Marshalltown Community College versus sending them to the program we do have in Mason City in combination with the work and the effort that Kevin has, it's actually less expensive for us to send them to Mason City than to use the Marshalltown Community School District or Marshalltown Community College training. Part of that also that plays into a factor is the timing. We're able to get somebody up into Mason City in the 6 to 8 week time frame, where the CDL training here in Marshalltown is not quite as timely. It also doesn't always have the correct vehicle that we need. We need a CDL with air brake and also passenger endorsement.
Let's call the roll on the pending motion.
Nichols?
No.
Schneider?
Yes.
Thompson?
No.
Fonseca? Yes. Kell?
Yes.
Lottiehoff?
No.
Mitchell?
No.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion, if I may, that rather than specific numbers, can we direct staff to bring back some options, and we will analyze this with the overall levy?
I kind of got the impression even.
I would second that.
Even if we hadn't made that a motion, that was probably going to happen.
Trying to make your job easier.
Yeah. Well, but as long as we have a motion and a second, let's call the roll on this one. I don't think we need further discussion.
Fonseca? Yes. Kell?
Yes.
Lottiehoff?
Yes.
Mitchell? Yes. Nichols?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Carried. With that, we are adjourned at 6:59 PM. Thanks for coming.